Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to Facts and Two Cents. I hope you are all doing well wherever you are. As you can see, today we're doing a little bit different, a little bit focused on some world news, things that are going on around the world. Starting a new part to the channel where I only focus on an episode on what is going on around. We've been focusing, and at least I have been focusing a lot on Palestine. And so today I am going to be taking my eyes over to Congo. As you can see, and as I was putting this together, I saw this incredible photo. Thank you to Typical African, Joe_Passy, for posting this photo. It's absolutely perfect on all the places around the world that just crazy stuff is happening, be it genocide, be it, genocide in all these areas, really. And so I just want to take this time to focus. This is the first episode, actually, I'm going to be doing on Congo, first of many. And I wish I didn't have to do episodes like these or talk about these things, but we do have to. Things are going on that really affect human life and affect the people in the communities, in whether it's Congo, Sudan, Palestine. Atrocities going on all around the world. And I think no matter what size of our platforms that we have, that we need to be using that to highlight those things so people know. And hopefully the more people are aware of what's happening, they can all speak out about what's happening. So that way we can bring change. That way we can have some semblance of peace, that people can have peace and they can raise their family in peace and security. And that's what I want for myself. So that's what I want for others as well. As I was doing a lot of research and just reading up, really, so many people have been posting on social media. And so I was like, okay, I need to just really find out what is happening in Congo. And there were so many different things, with whether it's the government, whether it's international, countries coming in and abusing the citizens of the Democratic Republic of Congo, especially Eastern Congo, and for the resources that they have there, and also apart from that, what life is like for the men, women, and children living in the community in Congo. So I ran into this article which sort of summarizes a lot of what I've been reading. And so it's a bit of a lengthy read, but I think it's so important. Thank you to Republic for putting it all in one place. And so I thought I'd use this article and and read about it and then come back and chat about it. As you can see, a little bit of the article is there. So that is part of what I will be reading, and then I will continue because it's just a lot, and so way too much to put on the slides. So it says, just as Nigeria has oil and South Africa has diamonds, the DRC, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, has cobalt. African countries with extensive reserves of precious raw materials often find themselves prey to irresponsible leadership and the greed of Western powers. The DRC, with the largest reserves of cobalt in the world, is no exception. As of October 2023, 6.9 million Congolese people have been displaced due to violence and rebel attacks. Some of the displacement of about 400 households in October 2023 have been directly linked to the forced evictions driven by cobalt mining. Mining in the DRC has particularly gained attention, albeit insufficient, due to its association with grave human rights abuses and exploitation, along with fierce international competition that leeches off it. Cobalt is a hard, lustrous, silver-gray material that is often extracted as a byproduct of nickel and copper mining. It has a variety of industrial applications, but it is perhaps mostly well known as a critical component in the production of rechargeable lithium batteries used in electric vehicles, smartphones, laptops, and other electronic devices. In other words, if you can send messages, browse the internet, and ride electric car or plane, cobalt has been used as a production component. While cobalt is an essential element, exposure to high levels of the metal can be toxic. Occupational exposure, particularly in mining and processing operations, is a concern. Cobalt's importance in defense became clear in the First World War in 1914 to 1918, which only grew in the Second World War, 1939 to 1945, as the US's importation of cobalt from the DRC grew 12-fold from 1938 to 1943 to support production of jet engines. To keep up with the high demand, cobalt mine production in the DRC experiences a growth rate of 20% yearly. The multi-purpose use of cobalt has also made it a source of power in global politics, which only intensifies its demand. The DRC, or again, the Democratic Republic of Congo, despite being a major source of and exporter of some of the world's most valuable minerals, along with cobalt, you have copper, gold, coltan, and diamonds, as well as having the second largest forest in the world after the Amazon, remains one of the poorest countries in the world. 5.7 million people in the country are also displaced, and 1 in 4 Congolese people cannot meet their basic food needs. This disproportionate reality signals a major humanitarian crisis resulting from exploitation and injustices such as child labor, unsafe working environment, and corruption. Cobalt and slavery. There's also modern day slavery involved in all this. Says, while history books remember the transatlantic slave trade as a heinous injustice, we are currently faced with a plague of modern slavery, which, according to the United Nations International Labor Organization, amounts to 49.9 million people as of 2021. The DRC produces more than 60% of the world's supply of cobalt, which is mined in the country's copper belt. Of the 255,000 Congolese citizens mining cobalt, at least 40,000, that is 40,000 of them, are children. Much of the work is informal small-scale mining, where laborers primarily use their hands and earn less than $2 per day. According to the American non-governmental organization World Vision, mined minerals are often hazardous, and exposure to some can have profound health effects. There are also a constant risk of falling into the mine shafts, being trapped or injured by collapsing tunnels, or drowning while mining underwater. In a survey, World Vision also found that 19% of miners have witnessed a child die at a mining site. 67% reported frequent persistent coughing, and several girls have genital infections after working waist-deep acidic water. In addition, up to 2,000 people, that's 2,000 people, die from cobalt mining accidents in the DRC every year. Miners also face sexual assault and forced eviction. The global demand for cobalt will also have adverse environmental effects on the DRC, especially if precautions are not taken to ensure sustainability. The extraction of mineral resources includes cutting down trees and contamination of water bodies. Fish are also contaminated with high levels of cobalt, which easily spreads to humans through consumption. Of course, those most vulnerable to this exposure are those who work and live close to lakes and rivers where the waste is dumped. Country governments have also their share of responsibility. The Congolese government has been criticized for allowing such practices because of greed, corruption, and a lack of empathy reminiscent of African leaders. Chinese corporations and mining companies are also aware of these hazardous conditions but contribute no help to alleviate the matter. On the contrary, they buy from these miners at critically low costs and even contribute to their exploitive working conditions. Beyond cobalt, since 1996, wider conflicts in the eastern DRC has led to approximately 6 million deaths. According to Human Rights Watch, the armed M23 group is involved in committing executions and civilian recruitments in the DRC and has displaced almost 200,000 civilians. They are also accused of mass killings and rape. Although the region recently saw calm, more clashes have been reported as of November 2023, following a call by the DRC President Felix Tshisekedi for a speedy withdrawal of the UN mission in the country. Tshisekedi's time in office has been riddled with these issues of exploitation and corruption. In May 2023, the World Bank suspended funding for humanitarian and development projects in the DRC worth more than $1 billion after Congolese government dissolved the project funding without warning. This demonstrates how the problems of the DRC are also internally charged. And so there is a lot here. And it's so weird, going back to Cobalt and what it's used for. I mean, I love my phone, I love my laptop, I love my pad because I use them every day. They're like at the tip of my fingers, and I couldn't imagine life without them, even though I was alive. Dating myself, yeah, I was alive before cell phones. But now, because I'm so addicted to just checking everything and working outside and having my laptop or my pad or whatever with me, I can't imagine life without it. I also did not realize where the parts and where the components of whether it's a phone or your laptop or your pad, whatever, came from. I never thought about it. It never occurred to me. It absolutely never occurred to me where these things come from, where the parts, how they make these, and what materials they need to make these things. And I think that's the case for a lot of people around the world. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, just about everybody has a cell phone. Everybody may also have a laptop. I don't know if everyone has a pad, whether it's iPad or Samsung pad or whatever pad, they're all over. There are a whole bunch of different companies that make all these stuff. Or people have now, the big thing in the West is electric cars, because we're like, okay, the planet, let's save the planet. Let's use electricity instead of gas, instead of oil. And, let's use electricity because that'll save the planet. And that save our environment. But when we use the electricity from there, it needs batteries. And where do we get the batteries? From cobalt that is destroying someone else's environment. And it's just like, oh my goodness. So we want to take care of our environment, but at the expense of the people in Democratic Republic of Congo and elsewhere in Africa that they do this kind of mining. Their environment is being destroyed. As the article talks about, mining cobalt pollutes the water, which pollutes the fish. And the people in the community eat the fish. and they get contaminated that way. And again, a lot of them live around the mining area, so they work in the mine. So if you don't get sick or die from working in the mine, you get sick either from drinking the water, bathing in the water, or eating the fish or whatever sea life in there you eat. You're going to get contaminated and get sick and die from this. And so it's while we here are enjoying our expensive phones and all the things that we have, we are destroying them in so many different ways. And again, I never knew this. I didn't think about it. I just know that I love these modern technology. I love modern technology. And I couldn't imagine giving up any of it. But it has given me food for thought in that now that I know this, I'm not going to be so quick to, okay, I need to change, as with every company, whether it's Apple or wherever, there are always upgrades and always new items, always new phones or new pads or new laptops or new whatever. Elon Musk always has like a new electric car and all of those things that are provided. And we think it's great here in the West. And again, we don't consider where that comes from, where the parts of those, where the battery comes from and how it is destroying another part of the world. And again, one of the poorest countries in the world. And that's another thing. How can a country that is the world's leading country in producing all of this materials that the world needs? They should be, this Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, should be one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Because everybody needs a cell phone. Every country and every company that makes them needs this material. Every company that makes electric cars needs this material. There are wars all over the place, unfortunately. And people, as you can say, the countries need that these materials for their jets, their planes, their fighter planes, whatever. So how could a country that has all of these minerals that the world desperately needs and are looking for, and then as they're saying, has the second largest rainforest in the world, how could a country be this poor? And I'm so happy the article just lays it out. Exploitation from within and without. And I read in another article, even though the country has all these natural minerals that the world need and they have such a demand for, exploitation from within, meaning the corrupt government, they are making tons of money. The rest of it's obviously not trickling down to the rest of the people. But those in leadership and those, in high office, they are all raking in the money through corruption, bribes, and all of these things. But the rest of the people are dirt poor. And then Western people coming in with all of this, they see that the country's struggling, so they throw some money to the leaders, whatever. And somehow, the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo has allowed China to own just about 80% of the mines. And you're like, what? So what they're doing now is that they own all these mines and then they hire Congolese people for a couple of dollars a day. That's it. That's all they're making, a couple of dollars. And then even more exploitive, as the article talked about, they have hired about 40,000 children. Children. As you can see from these photos, like the top left photo, children in these dirty waters, in these minefields. I mean, there are videos upon videos upon videos. If you want to Google, just Google children in cobalt mine in Congo. Just put Congo, cobalt children. And it's tons of photos, tons of videos of children in these dirty waters with their hands. As you can see from the article, it talked about they're not supposed to be touching. Cobalt is not something you're supposed to come into contact with your body. Yet you see these pictures of both adults and children in these mines with their bare hands and feet. They're in these acidic waters. And they talked about girls having issues with infections because they're in these acidic water mining. And Not only is it again destroying the community, the environment, and in the Democratic Republic of Congo, it literally is destroying the people. You think about it, also, it talks about how there are so many ways that people die in these mines. The mine, because they're unstable, you're digging into the mountains with no reinforcements. It's unstable. It come crashing down on you. You can get trapped in the mines. They also mine underwater. So you're literally underwater in these dirty waters mining. You can drown. They also talk about all the kids that die in these mines. Parents talk, there are articles of parents talking about their kids buried in this mine that collapse and you can't get them out. They just suffocate and die. Over 2,000 people die a year in the DRC in these minefields. And because there's a lot of greed involved, the minefields keeps expanding and expanding and expanding, displacing people. People are forced out of their home. People who don't want to leave are killed. There's, as the article talks about, there's rapes, there's murder, there's the M23 gang that has been wreaking havoc on people. There's they are accused of all these atrocities, and apparently Rwanda has been backing these militants that is coming and is wreaking havoc on the Eastern Congo. So if all these things going on, and we are over here merrily enjoying our phones and all of the benefits that come with it, and not paying attention to what is happening to the people of Congo. They call it the silent war because, again, even though you can find all these things online, you have to, if you go looking for it, compared to, say, the publicity or the reports about Palestine, you don't get a lot of that in Congo. The people who are mining these mines and are putting their bodies on the lines, chances are the majority of them can't afford the phones where their cobalt is in. So the majority of them probably don't even, they don't have the means to be, on X sharing this stuff. And so it's really, really sick what is going on there. And as it says, Congo remains one of the world's poorest countries. 5.7 million people in the country are displaced, and 1 in 4 Congolese cannot meet their basic food needs. Again, how does a country that is this mineral rich, you have this kind of issue where 1 in 4 people are poverty stricken? They cannot meet basic needs, and it just, oh my goodness. And it says 255,000 people work in these mines. And it just, again, women, children, as you can see from these photos, what it kind of looked like. There's kids on the left mining in the dirty water. These are the minefields where they're digging into with these bags. I guess they're, maybe putting the cobalt in these bags, and they are digging with their hands into the mountain. And these things are unstable. This is what could come crashing down on them or trap them in these fields, in these holes that they go digging into to try to extract this stuff. Look at in the photo in the bottom. Look at these. I mean, I'm claustrophobic, so I when I saw this, I instantly was like breathing hard. I cannot imagine what it must feel like to go into these caves, really digging with your hands to get these minerals to give to rich companies. A couple of days ago, Apple, because Apple was claiming all the time that no, they don't get their cobalt from these places. They're getting it from ethically sourced place, and so they've been saying this for quite a while. That no, they don't get their cobalt from there. And then a report came out with these lawyers that they found evidence that Apple does indeed get, maybe a third party client or whatever they have, does indeed get their cobalt from places where you have this kind of abuse. And so they have been trying to get Apple to comment on this or to respond to this new allegation against them. And Apple has been silent. And so I don't know if they're going to respond to it, whatever, but they have, I guess some legal people have evidence that Apple has been getting their material for their phones, batteries, etc., from these abusive places. And so we will see what comes out of that. But as last I checked, Apple has not responded. So I mean, if you're innocent, why wouldn't you respond? Say, no, that's not true. Why wouldn't you respond if you're innocent of this? But look at the amount of people, look at, and this is just one of the minefields. And this is how they live every day for a couple of dollars. And countries like China know that these people, they can't afford food. They will do anything for the $2. So this is how they exploit them. They get the minerals from these people. They only pay them a couple of dollars. And then they get to make whatever and sell it to the rest of the world at $100 and something and make a fortune, while these people who are literally putting their bodies on the line, their health and everything in their family, are dying and exploited. I mean, it's sick when you look at this. And it definitely gives you pause when you think of all the things that we have today, all the benefits that we have today that we are so excited about. And look at the conditions of the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's children who should be in school at the top photo. And they're out in the fields with their bare hands, mining for cobalt. Look at these girls. Look at these young kids in these dirty waters in the minefields of Congo. Look at the shaft. Look at what these people are climbing over. There's no wonder this stuff collapses. This is crazy. And this is their life. And remember, we just talked about you're not supposed to be touching this stuff. There are the black hands holding this stuff in their hands. For the rest of their life, they will have health problems. It is really, really, I mean, when you think about it, it definitely gives me pause. I'm like, you know what? I don't need a new phone. I mean, I love new phones. I love going looking for new phones, because as long as it has like the camera that I need on the phone, hey, I want a new one. Oh, I want a new pad, or I want a new whatever. It definitely now gives me pause, because every single one that I have, I know now, I don't have an excuse. I know now the cost of human life that allows me to have something like this. I now have to think of the faces of these children in this nasty water, these young girls who are suffering infections in their private areas because they're in these nasty, sick waters, mining for something that their bodies should never, ever, ever have to be around. And again, in thinking in terms of electric cars and all of that stuff, it helps us, it helps our environment here, but it destroys them, pollutes their whole, everything around them is polluted. What will these children grow up? What will their life be like when they grow up? If they grow up. So yeah, this is some of what, some of what is happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And, on top of that, they also said that a lot of kids have been either kidnapped from elsewhere to come basically forced to work in these mines. People are that's why they call it modern day slavery. They are forced, they don't have a choice. They don't have choices, and the abuses, whether it's sexual or physical violence or the murders, all of those things that are happening in their community, they don't have a choice in order to feed their families. And again, if you're kidnapped, you don't have a choice. They take you away from your family, put you in these mines, and you are a slave working for foreign companies who are benefited off of your life. It is heartbreaking watching this and watching the faces of these children who should be in school learning or out playing. Their entire childhood has been stripped away from them. They don't have one. So that's some of what's going on in Congo. And then, more photos of children. Again, you're not supposed to be touching these things. You're not supposed to be touching cobalt or any of this stuff. And look at these kids, their hands all up in it. It's all over them, their feet, it just no protection at all. And again, these companies like China and stuff who owns a lot of this, they don't care. They get their minerals. They don't care about Black and brown people. They don't care about Black people at all. As long as they get to use them to gain their wealth, they don't care what happens to them. And that is obvious. So moving on top of that mess, last Sunday, I think it was the 19th, this crazy thing happened in the DRC. And it was just like, what? And maybe, again, I hadn't focused on different countries in Africa, especially their political situation that's going on. So I was just like, it's funny just kind of reading up on Congo. And then all of a sudden this happens and you're like, what on earth is going on? And so this happened. It says the DR Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo's army, says it thwarted an attempted coup. That's right. Says the Democratic Republic of Congo's army says they squashed an attempted coup against President Felix Tshisekedi in the capital, Kinshasa, involving Congolese and foreign fighters. DR Congo's army spokesman, Brigadier Sylvain Ekenge, said that 50 suspects, including 3 Americans and a naturalized British citizen, have been detained. He previously said that the state-run broadcaster RTNC TV that the situation is now under control. His statement comes hours after armed men attacked the house of Vital Kamerhe, the former chief of staff and ally of President Tshisekedi, early on Sunday morning. Witnesses say a group of about 20 assailants in army uniform attacked the residence and an exchange of gunfire followed. 2 guards and an assailant were killed in the attack on Mr. Kamerhe's house. His spokesman and Japanese ambassador said in posts on X. The men also occupied Palais des Nations, I guess the nation's palace. I'm assuming that's what it means. The office of the President of the Republic, which is located in city center, a place highly secure by Republican guards. So yeah, some crazy people, about 50 of them, decided to launch a coup against President Tshisekedi. And it was really crazy because you're like, what did they think they were going to accomplish with just like 50 people? And in some cases, 20 of them, as they said, exchanged gunfire. But anyways, so this account on X did a whole long thread kind of trying to explain just some of the details that's missing in some of the articles. So thank you, Congo is Bleeding, that went ahead and did this long thread to sort of make sense of all the mess that was happening in the coup attempt. And it's so I'm going to read some of the thread that he posted on X. It says, attempted coup in DRC, a thread. On Sunday, May 19th, in the early hours, a group of armed men led by Congolese politician Christian Malanga made 3 Facebook Live videos. Only one remains on his page from inside the Palais de la Nation, or president's office. In the first video, Malanga expressed that he and other soldiers are disillusioned with the current state of affairs, citing rampant corruption in the government and government incompetence in handling the war in the East. And again, that is the whole war with the M23 militant group that's wreaking havoc on citizens there, and also, with the whole mess with the mining we just looked at. So he's not happy with what's going on in his homeland of Congo. And it says he declared his intent to free Congo, involving his son, his 20-year-old son, that is, in the operation. He voiced concerns about the conditions of soldiers, children, and the Congolese populace at large, emphatically stating, Felix, you're out. Felix, dégage. I'm assuming that's how he said that. So some more of his posts. He goes on to post, he says, his movement is named New Zaire, after the DRC's former name before May 17, 1997. The other 2 videos depicted Malanga and his group raising the Zaire flag and moving in and out of the palace, appearing restless. His son and some well-equipped soldiers speaking Lingala are visible. However, he says, the middle post, it says, however, whenever foreign soldiers, particularly Caucasian ones, appear, they seem to avoid the camera or walk away. I noticed one in uniform bearing a US flag, who was distinctly not Malanga's close associate, Benjamin Ruben Zalman Pullen. We'll get to him in a bit. Affectionately called Agent Ben by Malanga. Malanga's operation ultimately failed, and he and a few others were killed as they attempted to flee to Congo, Brazzaville, via the Congo River. His son Marcel and his business partner and friend Benjamin Ruben Zalman Pullen have been arrested. So a little bit about Malanga, Christian Malanga. He is apparently not just Congolese. He's also he's Congolese American. Apparently, they're saying that he is American citizen, so he may or may not have dual citizenship. Although the U.S. Immigration they haven't confirmed that he has U.S. citizenship, but most likely, if not the citizenship, he may just simply have a green card where he can work and all of that stuff in the U.S. And so Congo is Bleeding's post that says that, yes, Malanga was killed, in a shootout, and he was resisting arrest. So he was shot and killed. And then his friend, Benjamin Ruben Zalman and Marcel were trying to get away, and they were all, in the Congo River. That was a little scary to think of, but that's where they were trying to get away, and they were also apprehended. Along with them is this white dude, Tyler Thompson. When this all happened last Sunday, Congo is Bleeding was saying that the white man getting arrested, and also you can see him there pleading for his life, was Benjamin Ruben Zalman. But that's not, people were like, wait a minute, that's not the same person, because one of the things the cards did was display Benjamin Ruben Zalman's passport photo. As you can see at the bottom right photo, that's his passport. And that's his passport photo. And so it looks very different from the dude who is being arrested and pleading for his life. And the black kid that's next to him, that is Marcel Malanga. That is a 20-year-old son of Christian Malanga. And the white guy is actually Marcel's friend from high school. They're both Americans, Marcel and him. They're Americans from Utah. And apparently what was happening and how Tyler Thompson got to Congo with Marcel is apparently for months, I guess, Marcel was trying to recruit his friends from high school to come on this trip with them. And all of these kids that Marcel and them, they used to play football in high school together, and they all stayed friends. And so Marcel has been trying to get tons of different ones to come on this trip with him. As some of them he sold the trip as a family vacation. Some of them he said that they're going to be going on basically a charity mission, in a mission where they're going to be helping to build to dig wells and stuff for the people, to help the community in Congo. And one of his other friends, he tried to get him to go, told him that his father Christian is looking for a security guard, and offered him about, I think, between $10,000 and $20,000 to come. And all of his other friends, including the one he offered all that money to, said no, they're not going. The only one that said yes was Tyler. And so Tyler is now caught up with Marcel. Tyler, again, is 21. Marcel is 20. They are now in prison in Congo, along with Christian Malanga's best friend, Benjamin Ruben Zalman Pullen. And so Tyler's family, they're all hysterical. Christian's mom is all hysterical. Like, no, these are good kids. Tyler's family is like, he is not even a political person. He had no interest in politics, never had any interest in politics. He went along because they can get to explore and see different places in the world. And so, again, he was the only one of all the friends to say yes and went. And now he is in prison along with Marcel. And again, Marcel's father, Christian, is now dead. And so all three of them, including Benjamin Ruben, all three of them are now in jail in Congo. And it is It is really incredible. So going on a little bit more of the thread, Congo is Bleeding says Ben was reportedly caught trying to swim across the Congo River to Brazzaville. Malanga was killed in the same area as he tried to escape. Many others have been detained, but the full details of the events remain unclear, which is clearing up a little bit now. According to the Congolese government, a group of assailants attacked the residence of the Minister of Economy, Vital Kamerhe, and Minister of Defense, Jean-Pierre Memba, and new Prime Minister, Judith Suminwa Tuluka, although no evidence has been yet provided yet. The narrative has numerous gaps and ambiguities, and it might be some time before we truly understand who orchestrated this attack. Despite the portrayal of the assailants in the presidential palace as ill-prepared, I strongly suspect others have escaped. More of the thread. He said, outstanding questions. Was the DRC president's recent visit to Brazzaville to meet President Sassou Nguesso connected to this incident? Did he have prior knowledge of the coup and shared this with Felix? Who within the Congolese military or political class collaborated with Malanga in this act? What assurances did Malanga have to justify endangering his own son? And yeah, which is whatever even his mother is asking, like, she is confused as to why her son, who was apparently a good kid, is involved in this coup with his father. And one of the questions the second question was, who within the Congolese government or political class collaborated with Christian Malanga? It turned out that Christian Malanga was also part of the Congolese military, and apparently one of his best friends, or at least somebody very close to him, worked for President Tshisekedi. And so who knows within there that could have collaborated with him and may have thrown him under the bus and let him get killed, because again, he just went in there with 50 people. And they're thinking there's some kind of, had to be some kind of insider work where they let him come in and did something to him. Maybe the president found out about it and set him up, because they went to attack the president's residence and the president wasn't there. And so that's why people are saying this is a little bit, disorderly. I mean, this looks like unprofessional people trying to carry out a coup. And so, again, many questions to be asked. And then this happened. It says, while Malanga voiced frustration of many Congolese people, his ties to Ben Ruben Zorman Pullen, his business partner, who introduced him to influential figures in the Republican circles, the U.S. Republican circles, that is, on Capitol Hill, including members of the House Intelligence Committee, deserve scrutiny. And we'll get to that whole thing with Ben Ruben Pullman introducing him to members of the House Intelligence Committee, and there he is on Capitol Hill. And I was trying to find out who these people are that he's taking photos with. At the bottom there, the lady in red and all those people in Capitol Hill, but I couldn't. I did the search to try, with their faces, and I couldn't find out their names, so I couldn't give that to you. Now, hopefully, we'll find it out the next time I do an episode. But here he is on Capitol Hill, and there he is with Benjamin Ruben Zalman Pullen, on the bottom photo. I think that was in Maryland. Benjamin, again, is American. And this was his business partner. And we'll get there a second, how they're business partners. And so here he is with all of these people. And it's just like, oh my goodness. This man somehow got into chatting and taking photos with the House Intelligence Committee. Not only that, Ben's connection to Israel and the IDF. That's right. You're like, what? Should also be examined. He may be a dual U.S.-Israeli citizen, as he was with Malanga in an IDF training camp in Israel. The identities of the other Caucasian and foreign mercenaries present and whether they were killed or escaped remain unknown. This is Christian and Ben in the top photo. I made them a little bit bigger on your right. This is them in Israel. You see the tanks in back there. And this is Christian This is a Christian with IDF soldiers, and I think this was on Palestine territory. This was actually, I think, in 2015. This was a little bit while ago. And so here is Christian Malanga in Israel, really, in Palestine, with IDF soldiers. Yes, the very IDF that is wreaking havoc in Palestine right now and committing genocide in Palestine. Yeah, this is them. These are members of the IDF that, I don't know if it's the same people, but it's the same unit, the Israel Defense Force, or really the IOF, which is the Israel Occupation Force, which is what they're doing, occupying Palestine. But here is Christian Malanga and Ben with the IDF. And so that's why Congo is Bleeding is saying that, yeah, that definitely should be examined as to what's going on. And so I did a little bit of research on Christian Malanga to get an idea of, okay, there's a lot of different connections here with this guy. He's Congolese, and now he's in America. How did he get, to be meeting the House Intelligence Committee? What's going on with this whole stuff with Israel? Here's what I found on Christian Malanga. Thank you, Wikipedia. It says Christian Malanga, commonly known as Christian Malanga. He's a politician, a businessman, a military officer. He was the leader of the Congolese party, the UCP, a national political party he formed after his experience in the Democratic Republic of Congo, widely disputed parliamentary election in 2011. In 2017, he established New Zaire government. In exile, that's a new party he created, the New Zaire, and proclaimed himself as its president. Malanga attempted to overthrow the government of the DRC on the 19th of 2024, which again, last week. And the attempt failed, with Malanga shot and his son Marcel arrested. So a little bit more about Malanga. Again, he was born in Congo, but in 1998, Malanga moved to Salt Lake City, Utah in the United States as a political refugee. He joined the Junior Reserve Training Corps, the JROTC program, by the United States Armed Forces. So he got here and he immediately got into part of the United States military. It says in Utah, he owned several businesses until 2006, where he co-founded the DRC, a non-for-profit African Helpline Society. It's a non-for-profit group. He worked directly with children at the on-site orphanages with an organization called Global Outreach. It says Malanga used his experience to simultaneously form his own non-governmental organization called Friends of America during this period. Friends of America, which was actually a Congolese group, I guess, supporting different entities in Congo. It says Malanga then went back to Congo and tried to run for a seat during the elections. And something happened and they put him in jail until, I guess, after the election. And then they tried to offer him another post and he rejected it. But what he did after they let him out of prison, he went and he reported the situation to the U.S. Embassy and then returned to the United States where he lived with his family. He continued to raise awareness of the situation in Congo, in Washington, D.C., and throughout the U.S. regarding the issues facing Congo. So he was going all around the place talking about what was going on in Congo, the corruption and all of that stuff. And I believe that as doing all this stuff and going out, I would then believe that through going out throughout the country in DC and stuff, speaking about the situation in Congo could have been what also got him into different places within the political system in Washington, DC. As they said, Benjamin Rubin Pullman introduced them to the people in the House Intelligence community. That could be a part as well. And so, but he was definitely around politics in Washington, D.C. Not only was he doing that in the U.S., it also says Britain, the U.K., groomed him as a potential leader in waiting, sending him and a group of supporters to a political conference in Georgia in 2016. The African Leaders Program, where they learn to fight against corruption, reform fiscal reform, fiscal policy, tax situation. What they did in this whole conference thing was basically teach him how to run a country. So all the things you would basically need to run a country, this is what Britain, the UK, groomed him to do. So now he's not only involved in the US situation and involved in the US, within the US system here, political system, the Britain government also, he was involved in that one also. And so it says on 17th of May 2017, Malenga created an alternative government, the New Zaire government in exile in Brussels, Belgium. He declared himself to be the president of the New Zaire. Dino Matani, an independent researcher into African issues and a former political advisor to the United Nations in Congo, reported that Malenga was obsessed with capturing power in Congo. And in 2018, Congolese authorities suspected he was involved in a purported plot to kill the then president, Joseph Kabila. And then, obviously, whatever it is escalated to where they attempted the coup on last week. And obviously now he is no longer here. And so this kind of give you an idea. And I read, in another article, how he became besties with Benjamin Ruben Zolman Pullen. He has so many names. One of Malenga's company, he started all of these companies in the US, Congo, and other places, was that one of his companies was mining gold and all of that stuff. And so that's how he got connected with Benjamin, because Benjamin also in Mozambique has like 3 different companies that he set up mining. And so they're all in this. Again, we're talking about Congo and the mining industry. Benjamin has all of these companies mining whatever it is he's mining in Mozambique and other areas. And that's how him and Ben became connected and apparently became besties. And so a little bit about Benjamin and in terms of him and Israel. And again, I have to do more research. I only found this one place on when I Googled it. I don't have absolute confirmation on this, but this is what this says about Benjamin Ruben Zalman Pullen. It says Ruben worked for a former head of Israel's Mossad agency. And if you know anything about the Mossad is one of Israel's terror groups. Think ISIS. Think one of those. Yeah, it's like a criminal organization. Ruben worked with the former head of Israel's Mossad agency, Yossi Cohen, an Israeli billionaire, diamond dealer, and child laborer, Dan Gertler. And so then it goes on to talk about Zionist blood diamond that is mined in Africa. And basically, they use the funds to support what Israel is doing in Palestine and the West Bank and in Gaza and all of that stuff. Again, I only found this in one place, so I need to find other evidence for this. But apparently, Ruben worked for the head of the Israeli terror group, the Mossad, and then he also worked with a diamond dealer and child laborer, Dan Gertler. So again, we've been focused on Palestine and we've been focused on Israel a lot. But again, with all of these things, there's always a circle, and with all of these things going on around the world, there's always that common denominator. The US, Israel, and some other Western country. Throw China in there. And it's really, really scary how so involved that these three, that especially US and Israel, are involved, and they have their tentacles in all of these areas. And a lot of it's so weird because the majority of people just don't even realize. I didn't even realize all this stuff. I am just learning this stuff. Imagine my shock to realize that Israel, that they have connection to the IDF. I was like, what? But again, I shouldn't be surprised because the tentacles, their tentacles are in every conflict around the world. You can find the US and Israel. And that is the sad, horrific fact. And it boggles the mind. It absolutely boggles the mind. So whatever, I'm sure more will come out from this whole attempted coup, but at least We know that there is, whatever is, did the U.S. government, from its connection from the intelligence community in Washington, the fact that the UK government was training him as the, future leader, because they did capture someone from the UK as one of the people in jail right now with Malenga's son and Ruben Zama. So I don't know. They didn't put his name, so I don't know what his name is, and I don't know what he does. But it's just wild that someone from the UK, someone from the two people from the US, and one that has connection with the US and Israel. And it's always these people, US, UK, Israel, always have their hand in this mess. Always. You can find any tragedy around the world, any of this stuff going on around the world, you will find this common denominator of the United States, Israel, the UK. It is scary and it is sick. So anyway, so I'm going to keep, an eye on this. If more comes out, I'll share it. But again, back to what's going on with the people. What is the tragedies that we see every single day from Congo? It breaks your heart. But again, it also helps me, at least now I am aware that I need to change my behavior and change the way I look at technology and change the way, my patterns, whether, purchasing stuff will definitely give me pause. I have no reason to change it just because a new product is coming out. I have no reason. And I think if more and more of us think, in terms of when we're looking at our buying patterns, especially modern technology, that we will, if we consider, or if we at least know that those patterns affect people on the other side of the world, then maybe we will change our patterns and the demand will cease. And so these people can go having better lives. And also things that need to change, the exploitation, that people need to be paid their wage, more than a living wage, especially because the demand is so high in these situations. And if they're going to be doing the mines, that they're properly protected, that they're not only paid what they need to be paid, but they're protected in every single way. And that people's homes and their water is protected. And maybe that's what Christian Malanga was thinking, I want to go back and I don't judge his heart and I don't judge his wanting to have change in his country. Anybody would want that if they're from there. They want the best for their country. And maybe he had good intentions, but obviously went about this and in a horrible way. And then bringing along his son and his son's friend. These are 20, 21-year-old kids whose lives now is completely destroyed because of it. And then considering his connection with Israel, what was that about? And so it's just very, very interesting that I just was like, wow, this come full circle right back to Israel, isn't it? Right back to the US, right back to the UK. Very, very interesting. But anyways, this is a little bit of a sort of a graph of who and where and when that Congo is bleeding post. So yeah, very, very, very interesting. Anyways, that's it, guys. I am going to, next time I'll have more information, that stuff that's going on in Congo, and whenever I have it, I will post it. I will also keep posting on Palestine. I know that this stuff is also happening in Sudan. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. And so this part of the channel is just going to have world news. And then obviously the other part will keep being royals. So I try to separate them a little bit. So anyway, thank you so much to our awesome moderators, Lydia Church Nelly, Karen M. Cookies and Cream, and Black Queen. You are awesome. Sorry, Black Queen. Yesterday's episode, I forgot to say your name, so I apologize. But thank you all so much for the incredible work you do for the channel. Hello. We would not be able to do this without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to all of you who are members, who are part of the 2 Cents Crew, who support the channel on a monthly basis. You are amazing. Thank you so very much for everything that you have given to the channel. I am most grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And all of you who support via PayPal, Cash App, and also in the chat, whether it's a donation or super thanks, super stickers, any of those things, thank you all so very much. I love you all, and I will chat with you next